He said take a village to raise a child. But what if the village is retarded?
What's going on? What is going on today is another segment on simping. Now, let me be in particular. Let me actually go into why I started to talk about simping about a year, 2 years ago. No, about a year ago, I'll say. I noticed a certain energy. Okay, I noticed a certain energy, and this energy cried out for help by basically a troll, a main troll in different segments of let's just say uh, black YouTube circles. And this guy is not necessarily I would say a typical simp, but a simp nonetheless. Um, because it's certain things simps do that is just universal, and even people that, even men that were prior simps, they were simps. Basically, in the past, they were very hardcore simps, and they got their simp chip kind of somewhat deactivated, but they're still have some type of lingering effects of that. Most guys that have been reformed from simping still have lingering effects of prior simping, prior modifications of changes of behavior. Basically, that's what it is. Everything is a behavior. So changing your behavior is a behavior modification. Okay. Some type of change of thought process, some type of change of philosophy. That's what that is. Now, that being said, this energy that I noticed that was crying out, in comment sections on live streams, it was a cry for help, in the form of a troll comment. And from that, I gathered that energy, and like a fucking Yu-Gi-Oh or fucking Dragon Ball Z character, I've terraformed that energy back into a ball and a spear, and I shot it back out to the world. Okay, on my YouTube channel. And I started to fucking like the Pharaoh in Egypt when a fucking invader was near the horizon. I got on my fucking chariot and I started to go out to fucking go to war with simps. Now, I've talked about simps before. Okay. A simp is very similar to a hater as well, because you got to understand, a lot of simps, they simp in private because it's embarrassing to actually be a simp in public. So usually what simps do is they simp in private. That very person that you wonder about, and then they kind of flaky and fake and shit like that online or whatever, you what you don't know is that behavior is really a cry for help. They just don't know how to express themselves to say, the reason I'm so fake and flaky and unsure of myself and got low confidence is because I'm a fucking simp. Right? So it is a very, very hardcore subject amongst men. Now, women do simp shit too, but men are definitely, definitely the card carry holders of the simp card. They hold the simp card, they live the simp card. And it's I empathize as a man and I understand why men simp. Okay. One of the reasons why men simp is because we are very anatomy. We are sexual beings. We are sexual creatures. We have, a very high level of sexual energy that we wake up and go to sleep with every single motherfucking day. It's so bad that not even I don't want to say bad, but I want to say it is tied to your health. A man's sexual energy is tied to his health. So if you're unhealthy, or if you don't have certain, let's just say, sex drive, your sex drive is off, a lot of times that's associated with your health being off as a man. So that drive, that urge, right? Uncontrolled urge, usually, okay, you got to understand a lot of men do not have fucking control, sexual control. You got areas, let's just say in the middle, let's just say on average, average level of sexual control. And then you have a wide, like far right to extreme sexual level of control, or uncontrollability, where that man, he's doing all kinds of crazy shit, wild out, savage shit, like, R word ends with E word, right? Uh, 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 even worse than that, right? P word ends with, basically O word, right? Harming, minors, basically. And then also, uh, doing other shit like fucking with your own family and shit like that. Those are extreme versions of that uncontrollable, that dark sexual, uh, urges and levels of uncontrollability. A lot of dudes, actually, got to understand, a lot of dudes are sexually deprived as well, because they are maybe religious or secular to a certain extreme, and or conscious of what other people think of them, so they don't do certain things, such as, to be honest, in America and in other parts of the world as well, they sexually repress men to the point where they're so fucking horny, they don't know what the fuck to do about it. And they also, a lot of men that are actually financially, let's just say on the bottom, they don't have the ability to move around and, kind of compete, let's just say, in a sexual marketplace, because they can't either leave wherever the fuck they are, or they can't do anything wherever they are. They are also sexually repressed, right? Because they can't necessarily compete like that, or they don't, some men know how to compete, even being on a lower levels financially, using whatever masculine wiles they have, looks, and or communication skills, i.e. game, right? And being able to talk to women to get what you would like out of them or want out of them by communication. A lot of men do not know how to do that. Some men are very good at it. Some men are okay at it. Some men are fucking terrible at that. Very, very terrible, meaning almost to the point where they're like a fucking a little puppy that, cowers in the corner and is afraid to, socialize with people and other animals. Like they're like that. Now you got to understand, it's a lot more men, especially young men, that are like that than probably any time in history because of primarily a lot of different factors. One of the main factors is the younger generation being socially isolated because of the basically technology and their parents' fear of the outside world, and also laziness to actually watch their children play outside because they're tired. They got to go to work. They're, single parent. They can't raise, their children properly because they're overloaded. That's the thing about single parenting or single parenting. Most single parents are overloaded because it's only just them, or they're overloading their children onto their parents, right? Women are marketing tools because they're so embarrassed, so they have to market themselves. Anything that is out of the norm or abnormal, they try to rebrand it or remarket it to say things like, I have a village. Your village is your parents, you stupid bitch. That's your village. Ain't no village. It's your goddamn parents. You overloading your children on your parents. That's a whole nother story for another day. I'm gonna get the fuck out of there before I, have a car crash. But the thing is that's what a lot of times women do, because women really care about certain things. Men do not care. It's the just the makeup of who we are. We don't really we're socialized and programmed to not care as much. I mean, we play sports. We play, I used to play football when I was in the Navy. I played football. I wanted to play in high school. I wish I did play in high school, but the thing is football is a sport where you running after somebody having a collision, on, on any given play, right? Or even multiple collisions. If you're a running back, you're busting through tackles and all kinds of people, right? Trying to, go down the field, right? So those are the things that we're accustomed to. So we don't give a fuck about like words and people saying shit. I'm used to, I was playing football. I'm used to tackling quarterbacks. I played defensive end, and then I played wide receiver. So, you get tackled trying to catch the football, right? So that shit hurts, right? You know what I'm saying? You getting injured. Most of the time you playing football, you're playing through injury, so words are not really, we're not concerned about fucking words like women are, so the thing is that from all of that, that's where all of that branding and marketing to not be embarrassed and all of that goofy shit. Some women don't care, but most women do. But the thing is, the whole point is, the idea of simping is definitely something that men actually are branded and are, that's part of the makeup of a lot of men. And you got to understand, uh, that's driven by a lot of the sexual, um, you know, urges on a day-to-day basis that men have. Now, the thing is that when you control that lust, when you control that sexual energy to the point where you start to really control it, and it sometimes it might take time. It might even take you getting older, right? When you get older, depending on to the degree of how healthy you are or not, your sexual urges might, drop off. And then when those things drop off, when you look at certain women, and let's just say when you look at a woman and you kind of trick yourself to not think of her sexually and you just look at her for who she is, a lot of times you understand that a lot of women really are they if you separate sex from women, a lot of women are absolutely, you could even say, I'm not going to say worthless, but they really don't have that much value in the sense of, that's why women, you see the whole pose, you see the pose where I ain't got shit to offer pose. I really don't have much to offer pose, which is basically a little kind of, a picture where they show their ass to the side, or show their ass out front and center. That means basically I have nothing much else to offer but basically my body. That's the I ain't got nothing else really to offer pose. And a lot of times that's really, even women have said, like, one of the beautiful things about primarily TikTok, and it be all like women are fucking, they're exposing a lot of who they are for whatever reason on TikTok. Okay. TikTok is the, that's the beehive, right? And one of the many things that women have been expressing over the years is their honesty. Never forget I believe that's on my channel as well, like one of my videos where a woman is basically, she's a mother of, single mother, and she says basically, I really don't have much to offer a man. My day-to-day life of being a mother, working, being responsible, I really don't have much to offer or much energy to offer a man outside of, sex, because I am just so busy all of the time. I don't really have enough a lot of attention to give to a man because I'm raising all of these children. And she was absolutely honest. That video went super fucking supernova viral, clipped, edit, live streams about it, videos about it, reactions about it. That videos probably, I want to say, a couple years ago, something like that. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much standard. She pretty much, what she did, the reason why it went viral and everything like that, was because basically that is most of basically single women with kids. That is the fucking, like, basically prototype. That is the makeup. That is like, she pretty much is like, she was basically the spokesman for all single mothers. Like, whatever single mothers were not really honest about, or didn't want to be vocal about, she put it all out there in front street for basically both, basically for men. For the most part, women already know, right? But men, a lot of times, if they don't really hear nothing from the horse's mouth, they don't really believe it or whatever. But the thing is this: it's harmful, very, very harmful to be a simp, especially in America. America, actually, here's the thing. This is the thing about America, right? And even Canada and other countries. They promote certain things and have certain laws to kind of keep things going, and then make fun of you when people use those laws. Like, it's like, basically, you can go to the liquor store and drink as much as you want to, but if you get drunk, the world will laugh at you. You'll go to jail, for drinking, but you could drink as much as you want to. You could buy as much liquor as you possibly want to. But if you get caught, using it, in public, or not controlling your liquor, like a lot of people can't control the liquor, right? I got an actual, believe it or not, this is crazy. And it's like one of the stupid things that I do, that I'm gonna try to work on it. It's too late now because my license is expired, but I actually had a bartender's license for about well, I had it for it was good for about 2 years, but I think it's expiring actually in September, so I still got time. But um the closest I had to using it was I was gonna work I think it was at a football game or something, some college football stadium. I think the Northwestern game. It was it was for a day to work at the concession stand for the Northwestern University. And I was like, man, I ain't going all the way out to no goddamn Evanston to fucking pour no fucking beers and wine for any motherfucker for, less than 200. Well, actually, it would have been great, actually, because you get a lot of tips being a bartender or delivering drinks. So that was the closest I had. After that, it was like, I don't know. It wasn't to get a job. You have to probably do certain other things, but that's another aside. But the whole point is, yeah, if you get drunk, you're going to jail, getting locked up, you're getting basically laughed at, you're getting embarrassed, it's going on your record, and yeah, it's a bad thing, right? But you can have as much liquor as you possibly want, and that's how it is about being a simp. You know, in a lot of different things, right? You could do is what you got a lot of freedoms, right? You got a lot of the reason why it's called freedom, it's a lot of free ways. You have the free access to be dumb as you possibly can in America, right? That's why it's called freedom, right? You could be as dumb as you fucking want to be, in America, right? Freedom. It's a lot of freedom. See, words are very, very powerful. One of the things that I know the last 20 years about words and etymology is very, very much a big thing. And yes, you can be free to be as dumb as you fucking want to be in America. And people make fun of you. That's why women are really kind of fucking depressed and they all over the place because they got a lot of freedom now that they really didn't really have, to be honest, right? They have a lot of freedom, but you exercising that freedom puts them in certain categories where they get very, very embarrassed by exercising those freedoms, right? And also get themselves in trouble. A lot of people, one of the major things people don't understand about women in America right now is they are the actual incarceration rates for women is exploding. It's over 500% in the last 20 years or so. The incarceration rates for women. Uh, and I had videos about that and all of that, but I'm not going to go into all that. But that's a major thing, and I think partially the reason that a lot of women are getting locked up is, they're just basically their newfound, basically kind of freedoms, right? The whole feminist thing. I'm out and I'm basically unchecked by men, being unchecked by men, which is new. So is a new concept. Even in America, it's a new concept for women, right? It's a concept that is less than 100 years old. Being unchecked by men, basically the father being unchecked by the father, being unchecked by what patriarchy, right? That's what they say, right? That is a new concept, and that concept is absolutely uh putting them in a state of imbalance. They don't really like they don't really like guys like myself because, to be honest, a lot of men are just average. They're average in their level of intelligence or below average, and they don't really know how to express certain things or even profoundly speak about certain things. But guys like myself are able to do so and absolutely kind of center in on a lot of what the problems are. Now, my message might not get far. A lot of people that have more influence take my message and run with it, and I'm okay with that. I've lived to learn with that. But the thing is this, yeah, a lot of these things are associated with each other. You know, the freedoms, you know, for women also are the freedoms for men to be dumb as you know, as well. Now, that being said, it's harmful being a simp though. In America, it's harmful to be a simp. The way things are right now, it's very difficult. I have to admit, very difficult to not be a simp because it's so many men that are simps, right? The culture of America, you could even say, if you want to, if I really had the time, if I got like with some, if I had like to be honest, if I had like a team, you know, a studio, I could do a documentary on simping. Now somebody gonna take this and run with it. Okay, it is what it is. Okay, but it is some people out here. It's some YouTube channels. You know, a lot of them got millions of subscribers and shit like that. I subscribe to some of these guys. They are able to really do some on the ground work and do like, I mean, it's one dude, he goes to different countries and does documentaries and shit like that. I forgot what his name is, but it's some people that have some like film crews, and they have editors, they have writers. It's almost like basically they have their own um media company or something like that, or studio, film studio company, right? And you know, I if I did have that, man, I probably, you know, one day that'll be the case if I want to do that. You know, the thing is that is the best way to do YouTube, to be honest, like to have your own film studio or studio where it's not so much you got a microphone and you talking. It's more or less what I'm saying is you have high performance, high level cameras, high level sound, high level lighting, film, you know, actually writers, people that you could kind of orchestrate everything behind the scenes and put up of you know, kind of documentary level content, you know, or day-to-day content, right? You know, all of the big dudes, they do that. You know, the Kai Cenats, the iShow Speeds. Pretty much iShow Speed he just basically has a cameraman. And he just, you know, goes everywhere and acts crazy and all of that type of shit and deals with the reaction of his crowd. But the thing is this, the whole thing is this, right? You know, I would really do a documentary on simping in America, you know, how these simp laws were created. It's people that have already done that. I don't, one of the things about me is I ain't no hater like that. You know, I don't have no ego. Like my ego is very first of all, I very much understand the ego because of my education, because at one time I was going to school to be basically a social worker. I had to take a lot of philosophy classes, a lot of psychology classes, and I understand, I know more than the average person about ego. So that being said, you know, I understand, you know, a lot of men and women have ego problems, so that ego does not allow them, and it's got out of hand over, I think, the social media era. The social media era is only, let's see, social media got big. You could say 1.0, 2.0, 3.0. 1.0 will be like Black Planet MySpace days. 2.0 will be Facebook, right? In Instagram. And then you got 3.0, which would probably what would say we're in now. Um, you know, and it's like I want to say 3.0 has put people have a mindset of they don't want to highlight you. They particular about who they shine their light on. And it's almost Hollywood-esque. Like people do that. Like if they don't like you, or they, you know, they for some reason or not, they still listen to you, you know, and then they just don't want to acknowledge you. And that's definitely the ego. I understand. Like that's definitely ego. And then also people take it a step further. They'll copy your content or listen to your content and take it and then not give you credit about that, you know. And that's also ego, right? That's definitely associated with ego. That's you're you want to, you know, basically undermine someone else and then not give them credit for it and take the intellectual property because you're not smart enough, because you don't want to read books and you want to just be on social media all day, be it, you know, be an average idiot or a below average idiot, whatever. And that's what, you know, that's what people do. That's what I noticed. That's the behavior of what I noticed from people. But I don't do that. Like I give credit even if I don't necessarily really like the person, or that person has some major flaws and it's like, yeah, I don't really like this person, but I can't say that they're not intelligent, or I can't say that they haven't done X, Y, or Z. But the thing is that one of the persons that definitely have laid a lot of foundational research, you know, just off just live streaming basically, and just, you know, read books. He doesn't really do that a lot now. Green Gorilla, pretty much, he already did research on the European laws, but primarily the British laws that were basically uh, transported to America, on basically giving all of the rights to women as far as childbirth laws and parenting laws primarily, or want to say custody rights, right? So a lot of these are, you know, very much laws that were transported to America long hundreds of years before, you know, now, that laid the groundwork. A lot of these laws, a lot of this whole simp culture is very, very Eurocentric. It's very Eurocentric culture. I have to say that as well. It is very much Eurocentric in its origin. Okay, a lot of these mindsets and a lot of these simp ways, these simp values, are very, very Eurocentric. The king of, you know, if you had to put a simp in, as far as, if you had to give a simp a character, you have to, you know, give a simp a character as far as who is the kings of simping. I have to admit, I have to say, I have to call it how it is. And say, you know, definitely white men are the kings of simping, right? They are kind of somewhat even proud of that, right? They like giving money to women, right? They like um the idea of having money. They like the power of having money, and a lot of that money that they get, they simp on women with. They you know, it's simp songs and all of that type of stuff, you know, and it might sound good. I mean, I don't know it, you know. I'm not saying some women don't necessarily deserve certain, you know, reactions or whatever. I mean, if a chick is being loyal to you, she's, you know, because the difference between, the reason why it's called simping is because the man is not getting no respect. He's not getting any reciprocity, right? So if a woman is coming home, or she's already at home, she's making sure the house is clean, she's making sure the kids are taken care of, she's, you know, cooking, you know, doing her part, right? And in every regard possible, right? That's not simping for you to fucking buy her a fucking whatever thing that she want, a purse or something that she likes. That's not simping. What the reason why simps is are simps is they're getting the opposite of that. And whatever the opposite of that is, they're getting disrespected. They're not getting any loyalty, right? She's talking shit about her man to her friends, her family. She's not, cooking. She's not cleaning. She's not doing anything damn near. That is the groundwork of the man, unfortunately, staying in it. The second you stay in that situation, yes, you basically foster simp behavior, right? um you basically are a simp. And a lot of times what men do is, again, because they are very sexual, they don't really know how to really express that. They choose to be simps in private. They come around other men and they're somewhat embarrassed. They don't really even want to share their experiences or what's going on because for whatever reason, a lot of men that are lower tier men, very much this is also a hierarchy issue. I have to point that out as well. I mean, you know, it's definitely a hierarchical situation because not all white men simp. Okay, it's not like, okay, yeah, white men do have a lot of money, but it's not like all white men simp, right? Black men simp too. Black men simp as well, right? If you had to say, okay, who would be the side by side simps? The black man and the white man, right? The white man has a lot of money. Black men don't really have that much money. He has the least money, but he has certain attributes, even natural gifts, right? You would even say that puts him in a high regard, but he doesn't get a lot of respect. He doesn't get a lot of appreciation, right? As many men have said, right? We've said this on live streams, right? We've said this throughout the years. Even women have said this, when it comes to, like, a lot of times black men, we have certain stereotypes or whatever, or certain a reputation sexually, right? As being the best sexually, right? But we get the worst treatment from our gifts, because a lot of black men don't know how to not be a simp. Other black men admonish men for being a simp, right? And you got to think about it. It's men with certain sexual powers, or I don't even want to say sexual powers because that makes it, what, like with, fucking Superman and shit. But the thing is that in many regards it is appropriate, but it's men that do have certain gifts when it comes to uh sexual mastery. But some men, they choose to still be a simp. They and you got to understand that alone, if you have a high level of sexual mastery, you should have basically women at your becking fucking call just off that. And that's one of the things that no other person talked about other than Alan Roger Curry. Alan Roger Curry pretty much was the main person talking about the fact that he used to brag about how he had women that were rich, women that were celebrities, and different women, because he knew how to basically exercise his value to women, and get a maximum return from that. Now, every man doesn't know how to do that. A lot of what he did was coaching other men to actually try to do that, or even just to stop being a simp, or to learn how to talk to women, to deal with women, right? Because a lot of men they don't know how to do that, right? So the thing is this is a hierarchical issue, because a lot of lower tiered men, they feel that they have to simp. They feel that there's no other way but to be a simp. And you got to understand, a man that thinks that he has to be a simp for whatever reason is a lower tiered man. He himself will probably even say that, or he will, understand that he has a lot of weaknesses and a lot of things to work on. All of these hierarchical words right here, or just different hierarchical classes, let's just say, are something that you could work on. You could choose either one of these and you could be there. Or if you don't like it, you could be something else. It's up to you. The man makes the choice of what he wants to actually do, what he wants to actually be. It's all in whatever you think in your mind. If you believe in your mind that you're a beta male and that's your only choice but to be a beta male, that's what you're going to be. And that's your choosing. Now, some men have certain gifts that they're born with, and certain men have things that they got to work on. But if you choose to be whatever you choose, you got to understand that's your choice.
Really him. Really him. You're a victim. Here we go, CSI.
Nature is cruel. That's why I started off this video playing that lion, right? Nature is very, very cruel. Nature, a lot of people don't understand nature. I was thinking yesterday, right? Because I'm a person that I have flaws as well. I have things that I have to work on. Through working on a lot of those the things that I worked on, it has made me a powerful man. I am very, very much a powerful man in a lot of different regards, right? Even thinking about the things that I've overcame, that was what I was thinking about yesterday. I was thinking about, a lot of people don't look at all of the things that they overcame. A lot of people, and I'm talking to men right now, right? For the most part, right? We don't think about all of the things that we've done every single day, right? It's billions of people on this planet. Every single day, someone has passed away. Someone has died. It's wars going on. It's conflicts going on. Um, you know, I grew up in the Chicagoland area. A lot of gangs, right? A lot of violence, a lot of crimes, a lot of shooting, primarily shooting, right? Because I stayed out of certain areas that I knew were not good to be in, because I stayed away from certain people, certain criminal elements. I stayed away from certain levels of poverty, right? I pretty much, it gave me a leg up for survival, right? I didn't go. Some people, I don't know, some black people are really, they're really excited about poverty, or being around poverty, being around ghetto culture. A lot of women, they like doing it because they like the men from that culture. Um, the men primarily, I'm not gonna say, some men are attracted to that culture, but for the most part, men for the most part that are not, that they don't have to be in that environment. They don't try to get in, like intertwine themselves in that environment. or if they're in that environment, they want to just, be vigilant and then get out of that environment and then have a story to tell or whatever. But for the most part, men stay away from that if they don't have to be in that environment. If they're not from that environment where it's, in a ghetto environment or environment surrounded by, crime, poverty, and violence, right? But a lot of those environments have fostered basically a lot of violence. A lot of people have, right now Chicago is it's the murder capital. It's the murder capital of the country. It's, a lot of violence, right? A lot of shootings primarily. Basically a lot of young guys with guns that are doing drive-bys, right? And basically you got to understand, surviving all of that, whatever you've done and you survived it, right? You every day you survived. But a lot of times people don't understand, they take it for granted. It's like, you think about, like, you hear these old, like, one of the things about listening to music, you basically, you hear, it's like a time machine when you listen to music, and you think about what you're doing, like if you listen to whatever song you're listening to, you think about, damn, okay, that song came out in 2002. What was I doing in 2002? You like, damn, this is what happened, and this is what happened. You think about all of the things that you were doing during that when that song was, like, new and on the radio, and you start to think about, damn, the things that you was doing. You was in college, writing papers, and you was doing this and this, and you didn't even have children in, and whatever. You think about all of these things, and you got to understand, that time you were surviving every day. You were fucking, like, it was news going on. It was like, it never was not things going on, right? So you survived that particular time period, right? And everybody pretty much is a survivor, right? But a lot of times people don't understand. They don't think about the things that they fucking actually survived, like, or they take things for granted because they might not necessarily be in a situation. A lot of times people are in they're in their own bubbles, as they should be. I mean, I'm not admonishing anyone that works hard, whatever, to have a better life for themselves and their family. I mean, pretty much this is what this live stream is about. I mean, I haven't really got into it. I'm laying the groundwork on, why being a simp is harmful. I mean, I'm pretty much getting there. I've already gotten there. But the thing is that what I was thinking about is all of the things that you survived. Like, we're in nature. Nature is very brutal at any given time. Like, one of the things that I'm doing, I was I was playing a video game. I was playing like a game on my phone, and the game was like, you was a little deer, or actually an antelope, on a safari, and you got to eat some grass. You got to go to the meadow and drink some water, and you got lions and wild dogs around you. You got hyenas, and you got to run from these, predators, right? You think, if you watch the Nature Channel, you see how brutal nature is. Well, humans, they have the same reality. You might not think about it, but you're around animals. The animals ain't really the ones you got to worry about. It's the human animals primarily that you got to worry about, right? They try, you got people that's preying on other people, right? People that have no morals and ethics, and they actually prey on other people, right? People don't really even think about that. And then, even to be honest, That's what women do. Women prey on simps. That's what I'm talking about. That's what, I'm trying to, this live streams, why a lot of women don't like live streams where it talks about, this is a major topic. This is the topic. This is why things are the way they are with dating and relationships, because a lot of what goes on now is fostering an environment where simps, basically are created. They're, in existence because of, a lot of different things that are going on, a lot of different behaviors that women are doing. Men are, becoming simps because of that behavior, because they don't know how to do anything else. Well, when I hit that live button and I start talking about simps, I'm another dude that is, basically giving certain simps, some type of deactivation method. Well, if I'm giving deactivation methods, that's not good for women that prey on simps, right? That look for it. Because you got to understand, it's women that look for simps. I'm gonna play a video because videos are always good. Videos are always good to provide some type of reference, because I could talk about things and it still will be a productive conversation, but it's nothing like a video of women actually saying in real time that that's what they look for. It is absolutely nothing for me to do so, because I watch content of other, YouTubers and other people that expose some of these women and what they, are talking about. They make a collage of different videos of women actually kind of exposing their true colors, right? Because one of the things I guess you could say is it's women that it's always one extreme to another. It's women that are looking for these men, these simps, and then there's men that's, saying like, hey guy, hey man, hey stop simping, man. Hey, it's one extreme to another, right? So let me show you this one video from this guy. His, his, his name is Average Man Unplugged. Let's play this real quick, because you do need some type of video reference. I've already been talking for an hour, and then I'm gonna come back with why being a simp is harmful. You probably already can formalize in your brain why being a simp is harmful, but I've already kind of laid the groundwork when I said that, it's the analogy with the liquor. It's kind of like that with simping. But I'm gonna let this play, and I'm going to, after this video, I'm gonna lay down some ways where, yeah, being a simp is very, very harmful for you and your future.
Happen, you know what I'm saying? It just connects, and that's just what's meant for me. I would really want him to be feminine. I want him to shut the fuck up and cook and clean and do all that type of shit.
Women more in their masculine energy will like more effeminate boys for men. We are seeing this massively over the past few years, and men are feeding into it because they themselves are not becoming more masculine. We've been feminizing men for a long time now, intentionally, because weaker men are easier to control.
What?
We've been feminizing men for a long time now, intentionally, because weaker men are easier to control.
You can't make this shit up. You can't make this shit up. Y'all heard it.
Yeah, finally found some videos of women admitting this shit because I'm sick and tired of women trying to blame this shit on fucking men. Let's get into it. What's going on YouTube? It's your boy Ron back with another video. If you're new to the platform, welcome to the tribe. By the end of this video, I hope you subscribe. So, women admitting that they are attracted to feminine men. And I'll play that intro specifically because when I heard that part, it definitely stood out the most because this is exactly what the fuck I've been trying to express to men and women, because the women are hard-headed about this. And a part of the reason why is because for the exact reason why she said in the intro, feminine men are easier to control. All right. Now, I got quite a few videos of women admitting this and explaining this, so we're just going to try to get through them. All right. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it.
I'm really grateful for this time being celibate because it truly helped me see my role as a girlfriend differently, so that the next man that I date is truly going to be my husband, one that truly loves me and provides for me as a masculine, instead of me being the woman and serving him. Growing up with a misogynistic father, I realized truly that I put myself second in the relationship. As a woman, I thought that I was second, that I was last, when in reality, men are indebted to women. And I know this is going to trigger a lot of insecure men, but seeing it this way really changed my perspective. Why? Because women for lifetimes have been the oracles of men. We've been the oracles, we've been the intuition, we've been the power, we've been the energy behind the success of men. It's thanks to our intuition, it's thanks to our healing capabilities, it's thanks to our portal between our legs, it's thanks to our body that they are able to come here on earth. Without women, men would not exist. Let me repeat. Without women, men would not exist. Life would not exist. And this tickled something in my brain where I realized, why am I the one serving men? And why am I the one in a relationship acting as if I am the one that needs to serve men? As if him giving me the bare minimum, I should be grateful for it. When in reality, that man better worship the ground that I walk on. When in reality, that man better do absolutely everything that he can to make me happy. He should be the one paying for things. He should be the one bringing me somewhere that is going to bring me peace and happiness. He should be the one making sure that his being next to me brings me happiness. The second that he sees that I'm unhappy or that I get insecure, that's something he needs to rectify that. And this is not in a codependent way where it's like, oh, I can't be happy, like, unless him taking care of her is a man that is looking for another man. And I'm too feminine. Really great.
First of all, I want to apologize for making y'all sit through that whole entire rant, but I get too many complaints about me not letting videos play all the way through, no matter how long they are. So don't blame me, blame the idiots that are over here complaining that don't understand community guidelines when it comes to YouTube. But what I will say is that we didn't need an 8-minute rant for you to give us a reason why you're basically going to be useless in a marriage or in a relationship. We didn't need 8 minutes for you to explain that to us. And did y'all notice that she kept saying only an insecure man would look at this as negative or get triggered? A real man would be okay with what I want. See what golly. And she talking all that energy bullshit. Like, sweetheart, you speaking from the same playbook as all these other women that talk like this. You ain't said nothing new, bringing anything new to the table when it comes to this conversation. Just admit that you want to be a liability to the next man that you take seriously. You didn't need 8 minutes to admit that. But it's good to see that more women are admitting that they basically want servants. They really don't want leaders. I've been trying to tell y'all that. They try, but they got to dress it up to try to make it, how can I put this, appealing to men to want to take them seriously. But they can't do it without shaming and guilting, because deep down, they wouldn't even do this shit. So deep down, they know it's a bad deal. That's why they got to use words like insecure and real man and shit like that. Don't fall for it, y'all. Let's keep it moving.
Women think that the key is to fix a man to be and perform like a woman. That's why she think they broken. Oh, men are broken. No, you're broken because you're still trying to force this man to be your version of a woman that you like sleeping with.
So the thing is that and let me go back here. And then it's been a minute. Let me post this here, because this is more appropriate. The 4 types of men. Women are looking for dummies with money. They're looking because see, the only person that will fall for a woman that is looking for simps and that promote, because you got to understand, it's women that they know simps are simps and they don't deal with simps because they know they seen their uncle be a simp and get taken to the cleaners by women. Because you got to understand, the idea of it, right? In a perfect world, if people had ethics, morals, and good character, right, women wouldn't basically take advantage of men, right, that are simps, right? But we're not in a perfect world, right? We're in the world that we're living in. In that world, women are looking for dummies with money. They're looking for a dummy with money, right? And it's a lot of dummies with money. A lot of men are offended by things that I say because I'm cold with it. And, I'm able to point out a lot of men's problems. Even me being not even really rich. I'm not rich, but I can point out, I can make a rich man that's a simp. I can make him feel bad because I don't have the problems that a rich man has that's a simp. He has problems even with money that I don't have. Because if I had money or whatever, I would not be a dummy with money. You got a lot of dummies with money, right? Every year, NBA draft, NFL draft, baseball draft, they, get money and then they go simp out on women. They go get women that don't deserve to really be with them, and they basically become a dummy with their money, right? The thing is this: when it comes down to it, you got women that they're looking for smart men that are not simps. The men at the top, the wise and rich, right? The high value man, right? The wise and rich man that is the rarest of men. He's not going to let a woman take advantage of him. He's not going to let a woman, take him to the cleaners like that. She's going to pick the wisest of women. He's going to pick the woman that is, like in the Bible, the Proverbs 31 woman, the woman that is in the Quran that is, the Al-Nisa, right? The best of women, right? That's what the wise and rich type of man does. He's, a lot of men actually, I'm gonna be honest, And I wish I this was a reality. To a certain extent it was, but not really like I would wanted it to be. But ideally, some of the best of men, they were raised by men that were not simps. Their father, you know, um, was wise and rich, or not so much wise and rich, but maybe even wise and broke. Because you got to understand, it's men that don't have that much money, but they're wise. It's a lot of men that are wise, but they don't really have that much money. And that man, he's going to train his son to, you know, be like him, whether he has money or not. And from that, he's going to show him real world examples of how to not be a simp at a young age. And that little boy is going to grow up and he's going to have a leg up on everybody else. And it's men that I grew up with, it's men that I've went to school with, that they had that foundation and I had to learn it. You know, my father was not necessarily a simp. I will say that I learned from my father in many regards what to do. But you know, one of the things I have to say that I learned from my father, not necessarily from what he told me, but from the example of kind of some of his weaknesses that I learned, was to have your own house, to have your own residence, you know, to have a foundation to work from, independent of you know, basically to be the king in your castle. That's one of the things that I learned from my grandfather, that I learned, you know, basically I know this is what works, because I've seen my father, you know, not having his own house, and, you know, kind of, you know, not really knowing how to manage money and stuff like that. That's some of the things that I worked on, you know. But you got to understand, it's men that have a leg up because they have a father. They had a father that, you know, had his own house, you know, was the king of the house, and they saw that. And that man is you know, had a leg up, you know. So the thing is that, you know, I have to give that credit, you know, as well, right? You know, that is a actual thing, you know. So yeah, a lot of times what's going on, what you see right now with YouTube and TikTok, a lot of women, they're talking about, we want a dummy with money. Okay.
You do all of that, and then you be romantic and bring her flowers. Now, men don't like this romantic stuff. This is all women stuff, right? But you want to force a man to perform for this movie you got in your head. So you want him to come bring you roses. You don't care about what he wants. You don't care about what's going on with him, because men lead in suicide. They lead in alcoholism. They lead in. You don't care about what's causing this.
It's funny. The funny thing about Princella, the tripped out thing about Princella, is she goes to different avenues. Like wherever she, you know, it's like she's multi-directional. So the women pretty much went up against her. So in case you didn't know, her subscriber base and her base, she got a lot of pushback because she got in the she got in the, this is weird, bro. You know, that's why I just, you know, I'm gonna be honest, like I'm you know, to a lot of regards, I'm gonna be honest, I'm kind of happy that I'm gonna just stay out of there. But let's just say, you know, I a lot of times, you know, when because you know, black culture is very dysfunctional, very much now. It's more dysfunctional now than ever, you know. And you know, basically, a lot of times it's easier just to. It's just easier. I mean, it's it's just much more easier, bro. I promise you. I've been knowing this for over now. I've been knowing this for about definitely almost 20 years, bro. I've been knowing this. Yeah, I mean, and the thing is that this is so dysfunctional. Like she, you know, obviously she's talking about she doesn't want to deal with men, right? She's a open lesbian, right? So she's had another lesbian or relationship with a bisexual woman in on YouTube, right? That has a YouTube channel, and then that woman exposed her actual reality, right? Put a lens, a spotlight on her reality, you know, of kind of being this philosopher, you know, um, on YouTube, but in real life being basically a slob and a savage, right? And you know, the idea, right? The idea of that is, you know, it's definitely dysfunction, right? Both of those people are dysfunctional. The DSM book actually in the 70s, they had homosexuality in that book. They took it out because of social pressures. But I'm gonna be honest, I believe that is very strong evidence to show, especially now, they shouldn't have never took that out of the DSM book. But that's my opinion, and as other people that probably have the same opinion, but they can't say it, especially people that are actual career professionals such as psychologists and alike. They can't say that publicly because they will be almost outcasted from their profession if they said that. So but the thing is that the tripped out thing is that she's now a woman that is, you know, advocating decentering men. She's centering back men in her conversation and kind of like almost being a pick me now to women, because she will be her actions will be considered pick me type actions or behaviors to other women that are really not into men like that, right? Or they are more feminist, or you know, not pro men, right? You know,
this man to crack under all this pressure. You don't care. You still want him to go to work 12 hours a day, come home and make you a romantic dinner, rub your back, rub your feet, and screw you in a way that is just so mind-blowing that you can think about this for eternity. Women don't listen to men. Women think that men were created to serve them. So if you ain't serving them, they don't want to hear nothing you got to say, because at the end of the day, women think that this is we need to teach males to do this. Women want men to be women. Women want society to transform a male into a female. Women hate women. Women hate each other. But they want to get a man and then make him embody all of the characteristics of a woman. Women don't.
Her whole tune done changed ever since that little situation she had with Shorty on whatever that channel was called. But she's 100% correct. As much as I hate to admit that she's wrong, admit that she's right, because I disagree with a lot of the other shit. But like I said, her tone has changed since that situation with old girl. And again, she is right. And I want to add to that, because not only are they trying to get men to adapt, or should I say, apply all the feminine traits that they think are good, but they're trying to eliminate all the masculine traits that they don't like in men while keeping all of the ones that benefit them. This is one of the reasons why they're trying to assimilate this type of man into society, where it's like, okay, he does all the masculine things that benefits me, but you know, he doesn't hold me accountable. He doesn't tell me what to do. And he also has all the feminine traits that I like, that I see in my girlfriends or that we hang out with. They want the best of both worlds, but they don't want any of the masculine traits that benefit the man, because those masculine traits that benefit men actually require something from the woman. And as you all know, today's women are more selfish than ever. So I think that's one of the reasons why you have this dynamic that you have. And that's why whenever I hear women say men aren't men anymore, and men don't want to lead anymore, and men don't want to do this before, a lot of it has to do because women don't really want it. They just want what's beneficial from it. And then everything else that comes with it, they're like, oh no, we need you to think more like us when it comes to it. And that's where the disconnect is at. And that's why a lot of men are checked out, because it's like, you're not going to get the best of both worlds with men, because it doesn't benefit men. In actuality, it makes them look dumb. And I can tell you right now, most men are not going to respect feminine men. So that's another thing women need to understand as well. If you got a man that comes off a little bit feminine, you're more likely going to get tried by other men in front of him. Now, are you going to be able to respect that and, you know, look out for your man, even though he's feminine as hell? Or are you going to let that masculinity overtake everything, and then you got your feminine man over here looking goofy as hell because you just can't draw yourself away from that real masculine energy, because deep down, that's what women are attracted to. Let's keep it moving.
It's the masculinity for me. So I like feminine men. If you paint your nails, if you're like a little feminine, if you give me that energy, like maybe like you're a bottom, I love
men who are masculine, but they don't know why they're masculine. That's where I draw the line.
That's where we draw.
Yeah.
Like the woman's like ideal man, when really it's Loki. So
Right.
Loki's written through a female gaze as opposed to Thor. That's men. That's right. Which is ironic because that's a patriarchal standard.
Right.
Like men have to be big and strong. And
So who said that?
and not I.
Nor I.
I was like, that doesn't mean dog shit to me.
Literally. I mean, who is always in this conversation? Harry Styles.
They want, ideally, what they want is, and this is what I got this from I think this guy, it goes by Finance with Nick, Analyzing Finances with Nick is his channel name. He says two types of people, women and both men, they're either choosing a controlled relationship, or they're pursuing love. A lot of women, what they find out once they get slutted out, once they have their slutted out phase, and their slutted out phase really doesn't really stop, because if a woman is out there like that, she can go back to the streets anytime, right? Now the thing is that one thing that they find out is, okay, I can have all of this sex, but then this man is not productive, then I don't want to be in a poorhouse. So what they do is they switch from looking for lust and love, to looking for men of means, right? Back to this here. They're going out to the club looking for a dummy with money. They're going out pursuing their ideal situation is a dummy with money that they can control, because a dummy can be controlled. A simp is a dummy, right? Even you got simps that they, you know, it takes them a long time, or they don't want to listen to other men because they're on this spectrum here. You know, they're lower tier men, or even, you know, alpha. It's a thing where it's alpha simps too. Believe it or not, it's alpha simps. It's simps in every regard of male hierarchy. So it's a big thing. You know, like I say, it's certain just mindsets when it comes to simping. Like, it's women that men believe because they're so beautiful, or they look a certain way, or they believe that they're so rare that they have no other option but to be a simp towards them. You know, you got a lot of men that when they don't have, one of the things about not having a lot of different sexual partners, or just sexual experiences with women, men actually covet women more. The men that have not had a lot of sexual experiences with women, they actually have this pedestalization of women that is very, very much, a lot of men that that have had those because of men from a different era. A lot of men from the Gen Xers and younger millennials, older millennials, they probably most likely had more sexual experiences because it was just a different time, and it was before the internet and social media and everything like that, which really made it to a scenario where women have the whole world as their option. They look at the whole world as their option because they could go on IG, and it's men from across the world, it's men across the country they have access to now. You got to understand, before the internet, women only had access to the men in their local area, so it wasn't that much to pick from as far as competition from other men, and then also options for women to deal with, right? They either dealt with someone at their job, their school, their location of wherever they live. Now they have that plus the internet, which is the world. So a lot of what's going on is, because there's so many options to choose from, women are not taking any option because they have too many options. It's a lot. You learn this in marketing and business. One of the things you learn is, when you give your customer too many options, they can get confused because they don't know what to choose. I forgot what it's called. I believe it's called, like, it's some type of theory where, or it's some type of like a problem where, when a customer has too many options, they get confused on what to choose. And that, in a lot of different regards, that's kind of what women are dealing with, because they're looking at actually men with money, and then they're seeing women with these men, and the women are actually showcase. A lot of these women are actually faking, because you got to understand, women do fake a lot. Women are very Hollywood. They're taught to be fake and pretentious, to avoid, primarily because you got to understand their inability to be embarrassed, or their unwillingness to be shamed and embarrassed. Basically, they are very, very fake and pretentious, and put up a certain image, and that image is to be fake. That's why women go out, get brand new cars, and get into debt, get clothes, high-end clothes, and get into debt, get into credit card debt, because they're in competition with other women or whatever, to be this Hollywood-esque type of person or whatever, to put on this image to basically be fake. And meanwhile, at home, they're crying, they're nervous, they're begging their parents for money because they're broke, because they're putting on this front. They're putting on this fake persona of them being some type of, socialite that's luxurious and, fabulous and all of this other stuff, when in fact they're broke, right? Scrutinizing other men that are in the same scenario, if not better than them, right? So it's all about image. One of the things I'll give you as far as understanding is women really only concerned about image. Okay, they're very, very much concerned about image and how things look. That's all a lot of times they care about. Like, for example, I'm not gonna say that I have a very good image as far as how I present myself right now with the things that I got going on in everything like that. But I understand that I don't really necessarily care about image because I'm concerned about results. The results of not being in debt, not having a financial balance sheet where I'm in debt, right? I got more liabilities than assets. I know that's the major solution, right? To all of a lot of different problems. Not being in debt, right, is a major solution, a major thing to avoid, right? So what a lot of people do, and then men do this too, because they're trying to please women, they'll go into debt to get cars and jewelry and clothes to please that image that women are very much into. They'll counter them or meet them in the middle and try to basically present that image, that fake image, so they can basically try to kind of peacock to please these women. And that's what I learned not to do. I learned not to do that 25 years ago. Now, if you have it, you have it. But if you don't have it and you're trying to do that, me personally, I learned not to do that, because I learned that that's a false reality. And what a lot of times, what men fall victim to a lot of times is they are basically they fall victim to women's manipulation by wanting you to present a certain fake image like they do, with fake makeup, fake hair, fake nails, fake eyelashes. Everything is fake, right? Also, it's even crazier. Fake asses, fake titties, right? It's a fake persona. Once you realize, and I've realized this, one of the gifts that I have is that I was able to realize this when I was in my 20s, over 20 years ago. I saw how people, basically were working really hard, because you got to understand, this is why men go sell drugs. This is why men go do all kinds of crazy shit to buy stuff to simp out. It's basically they're simps. So they can simp out on. You got to understand how powerful this is. This is very powerful. That's why I tend to get more. I tend to get more views when I do videos like this, because you got to understand the simp culture, the simp reality of men to the simping out is a major part of men's behavior. It runs and fuels a lot of different things. And the thing is that in that regard, I realize it's not about all of that fake shit. If a woman really genuinely wants you, doesn't matter you trying to play some type of fake bravado or fake persona. She will basically, once I realized that, you know, men that don't really have that much can get maximum results with women, I realized that all this other fake shit and all this other stuff, you could toss that shit to the side. Now, if you got it, you got it. If you want something, you want to look good, I'm not saying that you should do that. I'm not saying you should dress every day like you're about to go pick drywall up. I'm not saying that. Okay. I mean, I'm not saying, that's not what I'm saying, bro. I mean, I'm not saying dress like you about to go pick drywall up. You know, like me, I ain't gonna lie. That's what I'm on a lot of times because shit, I got drywall right here on my wall that I gotta put up. I'm working on a 100-year-old house. I'm on some real estate shit. I'm on like Alonzo Hall. He was talking about what's dude name? Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey doesn't tell you he's fucking heavy into real estate. He talking about getting out of debt and all this other shit, but he's not telling you he's hedged into real estate. He's very much into real estate, which most, millionaires, the millionaires class are in real estate. So yeah, I mean, the thing is what's going on, bro. The thing is that basically this does fuel a lot of behaviors, right? Where I learned that, yeah, if you being a raw dude, a cold dude is internal and external. But if you're externally raw, meaning, okay, yeah, you got the cars, the clothes, and then inside you're a simp ass dude that has no confidence, you're going to be limited. Going to be very limited. One of the things about a lot of people couldn't stand about Alan Roger Curry, they knew this man had confidence. He had a lot of internal raw confidence that you can't go buy from no store. You can't go out and pick it at a fucking store. You had to have it. You either had it or you didn't. And that is what women are attracted to. They're attracted to your aura, your actual persona that is internal, your God gifts. Those things are basically very valuable. That has nothing to do, like the external stuff does help, right? It's like having frosting on a cake with a cherry on top. Don't get me wrong. The external, my website, you could buy, a fashion box. I could, ship you out some stuff, get your size. I'll ship you out, some stuff to, basically get you started because you got a lot of guys that don't know how to dress. You find that a lot in blue collar environments, right? Indiana is a very blue collar state. So yeah, you do see a lot of dudes walking around looking like they about to go pick up drywall. That is a thing, but you got to understand my Yeezys are in the closet. I got Jordans that I ain't even took out the box. I got Tims that I only wore 2 or 3 times. Somebody from Rumble said, what's going on? Heaven's T05, what's going on? So you got to understand that this whole thing about being a simp is a lot of that is external. You don't have the internal strength. Your mind, your body and soul is off. Like I'm literally this live stream is literally like a free consultation. I'm giving the world a free consultation, because a lot of men are simps, right? And you got to understand, the simp is the man is going to get taken advantage of. He's getting taken advantage of right now. A lot of times, to be honest, I'm going to finish this video, but a little bit of it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into why it's very, very harmful and detrimental to be a simp. A lot of men are, basically, that's why men kind of, do the whole murder, S ends with the E thing, because these women, they do certain things and they know where it's going to end, but they still do it. They push men's button, and these guys, because men could be turned into violent simps. That's basically what I'm talking about. Not what I'm talking about, but that's what I'm talking about right now. A lot of simps are pushed to the edge where they go into violence. They go into become a violent simp, right? Because they push to the edge. That because it's like a woman being antagonistic. She just pushes men to the edge, push it because she might hate men, to the point where she'll get a relationship with a simp and then have children and everything and push them to the edge. A lot of women are very suicidal in their behavior. And then basically push this man to the edge. And next he just explodes, and it starts turning into a Biggie Small song. If you listen to Biggie Small, you know what I'm talking about. Now, and then he's either he killed himself or he going to jail. And it's like, now don't get me wrong, there's some crazy dudes out there that they just did that because they just was crazy, right? And then you got some dudes that pushed to the edge. They, the woman's talking about, I'm gonna take all your money and fuck your friends. I'm gonna, take the children. I'm gonna leave you, and I'm never gonna fucking see you again, and you won't know where we at. Those are words that women use, and you gotta understand, certain words like that have resulted into a lot of different situations and scenarios that you see on the 6 o'clock and 10 o'clock news. And you gotta understand, I mean, these things are very, very harmful. These are very, very, not knowing how to deal with your internal strength, and knowing how to pick well and avoiding certain women is a superpower. And it is very, very much a superpower now more than ever in life, because you got a lot of imbalances right now in America when it comes to dealings and relations with both men and women. If men are able to basically not be simps now, that's like almost a superpower now, because you got so many simps, you got so many women that are into this culture of, they're spreading everything through this old hive mind, where they're trying to coach women on how to basically manipulate simps. So let me finish playing this video, and then I'm going to go right back and I'm going to close out with why being a simp is harmful for you.
John Mendez, all these like really effeminate men. And it's like, they're jealous of that because it's like, they're scrawny. They don't even live.
And judging by the 3 chins that she got, apparently she don't lift much either. But in all seriousness, Drew Aflalo, y'all really shouldn't be surprised. That woman has a following of 10 million, and all she does is bash women. Bash men and talk shit about men. Especially.
Okay, how much do you weigh?
220.
I weigh 210 and I'm 6'4". You broke the first rule. See, you ladies don't mind breaking the rules. The men are visual. The men want women that are fit, feminine, friendly, cooperative, submissive. I don't mind being the size of, I'm sorry, you're 5'8"?
I'm 5'8".
You're about the size of Emmitt Smith or Barry Sanders was. You're a running back size.
Okay.
You can hit the A gap like a motherfucker.
Okay. All right. I accept
So don't
that.
come in here talk about what men should not be able to do when they got to accept somebody who can run out the power I.
Okay.
I mean, I'm being silly.
At the same time, no. A lot of chubby dudes, so.
Man, you know what? I never played running back. I wonder how good of a running back I would have been. I mean, it's too late now, but damn, man. Shit, that's a tough ass position, boy. But man, if you good at it, boy, shit, man. Running backs, man, they powerful now, man. You know, you look at Saquon Barkley. Just think about New York, right? The New York Giants. They got rid of Saquon Barkley. They thought because he broke his leg or whatever, injured his leg, that he was done, tore his knee up or something. And then that dude went to fucking Philadelphia and got in God mode and motherfucking got the motherfuckers up to to the Super Bowl. And then Jalen Hurts, he learned from his last go round, and they all, they basically won the Super Bowl, man. But yeah, man, it's a thing where I'm gonna close this video down, and I'm gonna just close this with this, right? It's harmful to be a simp in America. And the reason why I preference America, see, other countries, if you're a simp, the laws can help you if you are getting taken advantage of. If you're a simp in Saudi Arabia, right? Well, a woman can't just take you for your children and take you for your money like that. She can't just do certain things to, weaponize. She has no government to weaponize, to use against you, to manipulate you. In America, you don't have those safety nets, right? You don't have a government that is going to, or a justice system that is going to have your back, right? So that's why it's one of the reasons why it's harmful to be a simp, right? It's harmful to, let your guard down, to let things slide, right? To, you give a person an inch, they take a yard, and then, a mile, right? So it's like, yeah, basically one of the reasons why I'll say it's harmful as hell to be a simp in America is domestic violence charges, DV charges. So I was looking up something, and this is literally why I came on this live stream. You said we got to start talking about wimps, women simps. Yeah. It's a lot of that as well. You gotta understand, right? A lot of women like that fat woman, those two fat chicks, and you gotta understand, it's women that they kind of deem themselves unattractive. They either fat and ugly or ugly. They're starting to they've been doing this. There's movies about this, right? Kind of scenes in movies. That one movie where Martin, it was a bunch of, I forgot that movie where the woman was dating a prisoner. But you got to understand, that's reality now. There's, reality shows, Love After Lockup and all, where women are actually coaching women. Even on TikTok, there's women coaching women on how to date men in prison. And definitely that's kind of what, that's very, very much desperate behavior, right? And you got a lot of women that they don't get attention from men, so they don't want to be gay. So their last fucking like I guess, their last chance is to date men that are incarcerated, and it's like it's tripped out, but you got to understand where they don't really have anywhere else to go. So that, they're going to prison. They're trying to look up prisoners to date, to talk to possibly marry, that's why that old woman that just recently passed away, that just got murdered, that shit is crazy. But I mean, she was like basically dating basically a serial killer. The definition, if you really look up the definition of a serial killer, a serial killer has, basically multiple deaths, right? He done killed multiple people. And you got to understand, he got caught. This is what thing you don't understand about people, right? All right, so that dude got caught for the 4 murders, right? But you got to understand that was that day. What about last week? What did he do? What about a year ago? He probably, them 4 bodies. He probably who know? He only knows, and God knows how many bodies. Obviously, he's got one more because he killed this woman that he married, and he had a conjugal visit with her, and basically he offed her. So that's definitely 5 right there. But the thing is that that's the desperation that these women are going to. And you got to understand, they look at it as it's kind of very similar to women that deal with minors. Okay, women that deal with minors, one of the reasons why they deal with high school, like a high school teacher or a high school counselor deals with a teenager or a preteen, post-pubescent teen, is because they have control over that situation. Women, you got to understand, one of the things, I'm cold with it. I'm just not rich. I get hated on by men because I point out things that they're vulnerable with themselves. So they don't really want to, share me. They don't want to share my content, shit like that. Cause I point out their problems. I point out men's flaws. I point out your favorite YouTubers' flaws, and they don't like me for that, and they're okay with pointing your flaws out, but they don't want their flaws being pointed out. Those are those types of guys, right? So you got to understand, I'm hated on the highest level you could possibly think of. And that's I embrace it. I don't care. I mean, it is what it is. But you got to understand that when it comes down to the flaws that men have, one of those flaws is they don't really, want to deal with the fact that women are, are looking for control. They're not necessarily. It's about control, and in regards of that control, that's why they're trying to deal with men outside of that control matrix. So look at it like a control matrix, right? A level of control. You got women that they are running away from submission. So a young man doesn't know how to make an older woman submit. So they're attracted to this younger man, and then they also attracted to the ability that they can control this young man. A man in prison, they feel like they have control over that man in prison. They have control to a certain, and these men have, I ain't took no deep dive into it. I'm not really that interested into it. I mean, maybe I should. I don't know. It might be good for views. I don't fucking know. But the thing is this. They have control over a fucking inmate to a certain regard. Not in a conjugal visit room, but they have control over that situation. That prisoner is right where he's at. They know he ain't going nowhere. If he's cheating, he's probably cheating with other men, which is even more disgusting and nasty and all of that type of shit. But they have control over that situation. One of the things that you don't understand is, a lot of men don't understand, is that women are running away from submission. They're running away from trying to be controlled. So in that, I was gonna close things out, but you know what? I gotta play this video, because what I just said, first of all, what I just said, I have to do this. They're running away from trying to be controlled. I just, it was something that I just remembered that I saw. I think I know where I saw it. That explains this perfectly. So let me see here if I can get this information real quick. Okay. So let me try to see if I can find this, but this is pretty much, it's a power dynamic. Okay. You got to understand, from the changes of how society has put women out in front, they have put themselves out in front, right? They're making money, they have careers, they have jobs, they have businesses. So from that change of behavior, because life is all about living, and then you have certain behaviors that you use to adapt your surroundings and your life, right? You all have, everybody has behaviors, right? They form behaviors based off of how they live their life, how their environment is, so on and so forth. So the thing that women have been doing is working. And when it comes to Black women, even other women, they deal with, the only person that they really have to deal with as far as who they have to listen to is white men, primarily. It all goes back to, basically the king Simp, right? They have to listen to that man because he has the power, he has the businesses, he has the influence, he has the circle of influence, right? So they have to listen to that guy. And this woman, she's going to explain what I just talked about. And it doesn't get no sweeter than a woman explaining it, because, when you get a woman explaining the shit, that's why I play a whole bunch of women videos, especially when they look decent, because basically you can't deny it, and it's like them telling it better than you can, because I mean, men already know this. Women try to deny it, but when you hear another woman say it, you know, it's almost like she's a pick me or whatever. That's all they can say. That's their only response to women saying, you know, kind of exposing the being.
You're a black woman on the whole black woman accountable.
Let me open this up entirely, and
you have to be ready to like
here
fight, because
funny thing about Instagram, I don't like, you can't see the video.
It's going to come with a lot.
So you just kind of like have. So let me hold up. Let me replay this here. Here you go. Yeah.
No one can hold black women accountable. Black women, unfortunately, we have adopted this mentality that I can do whatever I want to do and can't nobody tell me anything. And this is why we are where we're at. We live in a very selfish, egotistical society now that nobody cares. If you're a black woman and the whole black woman accountable, you have to be ready to like fight a lot. I'm always thinking about how young girls are being influenced. So what us grown women are doing is influencing these girls to do these out of control, I don't care attitudes. They have the most disgusting attitudes, and you can't even check them because they have their moms who say I could do whatever I want. So can't no one hold us accountable. Not a black man, your white boss probably. That's probably the only one who can tell us what to do because he pay us. A gay man can tell us what to do. If it's a black woman or a black man, a straight black man, we don't want to hear it.
And you got to understand what she's explaining. She's explaining hierarchy. Now, I do admit, I am no, whether I like it or not, hierarchy is hierarchy. Now, this hierarchy is being definitely changed, and it's definitely being exploited and shifted. And in many regards, a lot of white men are complaining about simps too, and they're complaining about this, you know, system, you know, and why things are the way they are. But yeah, you know, that's the whole thing, right? You know, I could even go further. Let me expound further. Right? I gotta play some of my classic, you know, things that I reposted. The reason why I repost these things is for kind of reference, right? Because it's a power dynamic. Because when you understand power and control and influence, you're talking about power dynamics. This is power dynamics, right? They have, you know, basically used black women to play chess with black men. Is basically what I'm talking about as well. They have used black women to be chess pieces against black men primarily. You know, one of those things is, you know, basically hiring black women and leaving black men, unemployed, you know, basically not hiring black men and hiring black women, right? Those are the games that have been played, right, for decades, for a long time, right? And you know, that's pretty much, you know, what she was talking about in that little short video clip. And from that money that they have gotten from that, they believe as if they don't really have to listen to black men, right? They don't have to listen to anybody because they got money and da, 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 da. But see, here's the thing. This is the thing with this, right? This is actually This is actually one of the main problems. I'm gonna play this again. I'm gonna play this again. You know.
No one can hold black women accountable. Black women, unfortunately, we have adopted this mentality that I can do whatever I want to do and can't anybody tell me anything. And this is why we are where we're at. We live in a very selfish, egotistical society now that nobody cares. If you're a black woman and to hold black women accountable, you have to be ready to like fight because it's going to come with a lot. I'm always thinking about how young girls are being influenced. So what us grown women are doing is influencing these girls to do these out of control, I don't care attitudes. They have the most disgusting attitudes and you can't even check them because they have their moms who say I could do whatever I want. So can't no one hold us accountable. Not a black man, your white boss probably, that's probably the only one who can tell us what to do because he pay us. A gay man can tell us what to do. If it's a black woman or a black man, a straight black man, we don't want to hear it.
Message.
No one can hold black women accountable. Black women, unfortunately, we have adopted this mentality that I can do whatever I want to do. And
Message.
Yeah, so that being said, that's a lot. That's a lot to unpack. That's a lot of behavior. That's the standard behavior for a lot of women, and especially black women, right? And you got to understand when you as a black man, you walking outside in society, you're getting that treatment, right? You're getting that treatment. That treatment you're dealing with. It's not just on the internet. It's in real life because that is the software, that's the operating system for the average black woman, right? The average woman in America, you could even say they have that operating system. But don't worry. Now, it's certain levels of where that's going to go. It is not going to digress, unfortunately. It is not going to ever digress. That is going to be that way for a long, long, long time. Women that are very mean and masculine and don't want to be accountable. A lot of those women are not going to change. They're going to get older and they're going to get meaner and meaner. And, till they're this old woman in a nursing home that is mean and mad as hell. Okay. That is where that's going to go. That is the end. Right. And during that process, basically that's how that goes. Right. So, what does that have to do with you? All you have to do for the most part is be aware and avoid. Awareness is avoidance, right? Awareness is avoidance, and one of the things about men, the superpowers that men have is we have time. Women do not have time. So one of the things that I've done it's a lot of things that I have done this year versus last year. Is that basically I have muted a lot of women's voices that are, I believe, are definitely irrelevant. It's almost comical. The fact that I didn't catch it sooner is almost comical. That I didn't catch it sooner. And one of those, one of the women that I have muted was 35 and older women with all of the videos talking about what I ain't gonna do, what I am gonna do, what I am gonna do, what I like, what I don't like, what I like, what all of that shit doesn't really matter to a certain point at your age. And it's like, you know, that's one of the major things. A lot of the women that spit all of these toxic videos and all of that type of shit are these 35 plus older women that pretty much are done with you know, in a lot of different regards as far as their age. You know, if they don't have children, you know, they're pretty much getting aged out. You know, a lot of you know, what Kevin Samuels was talking about, that was why these women hated him. Those 35 plus older women, they absolutely hated this man because he knew what it took me a long time to realize. He already knew the shit. He knew these women are fucking washed the fuck up for the most part. If they don't get their self together, they're going to be an old cat lady with no kids, no responsibilities other than what cat litter am I going to choose? What cat food am I going to choose? Should I get my cat or dog a toy or not? And that's, you know, I know that hurts probably for women to listen to. You know, even if you have sisters that, you know, they're not, you know, a lot of men, I don't really think about it, but a lot of men, one of the reasons they don't like men as well, because they have sisters and they feel bad about their sisters and their basically you know, lot in life. You know, their sisters are suffering too. You know, so they kind of internalize with their sisters, their cousins, their family members having struggles with men, with dating and mating you know, men in America, right? Now, one of the things I know from being an African as well as an African American, one of the things that I know is a lot of women's final destination, a lot of black women's final destination after they get kind of, you know, they go around the cock carousel in America, their final destination is Africa. Oh my God. I never forgot, man. I was at work and this chick, and this hardly I ever flirt with women at work, but this day I broke my rule. I was kind of worked up that day, and I was like, you know what, fuck it. Let me see what and I just was playing with this chick. You know, she was coming in the room. She needed some IT equipment, and I was like, you know, basically flirting with her. She basically told me, long story short, she was like she was like not a manager, but she was kind of like mid-level as far as in a corporate hierarchy. She was like kind of not a manager, but like maybe a middle manager or something like that, or lower manager or something like that. She worked for the company. She, you know, I was a contractor. She was working for the actual company. I'll just say that in some form or fashion. She was a black woman, educated, you know, corporate black woman, right? We got to talking a little bit, and then I told her, you know, I was basically from Ghana as well. You know, my father's from Ghana, and she was telling me about she goes to Ghana and she has some type of foundation, and I could just see the look on her face because she knows I know the secret. Trust me, I know the secret, right? And you know, she could see that I could see through her at that point. And she showed me the little video, and I was being cordial about it, basically being fake, because I pretended like I didn't know what the fucking secret was, which black women go to West Africa as their final destination, and you know, they get you know, that's where they go, right? To It's like the final boss, right? And yeah, I you know, a lot, not all of them, but a lot of them, like I say, I mean, after, I guess you got two camps: the ones that don't want to choose prison, then they go to Africa, right? And I know what's up, man. I primarily deal with black women for the most of my life. Most of the women I like dealt with was black women, right? So I know what black women do. You know who you deal with, right? So yeah, I mean, that's a lot of their final destination is Africa, right? Or basically trying to deal with white men, white women too, because one of the biggest statistics as far as homosexuality statistics, black women are on the rise when it comes to homosexuality. I mean, that's where you have people on YouTube, Princella, promoting homosexuality as an option for women. I was gonna do basically a reaction video to actually Princella. BGS have already done it, but I was gonna do a lengthy reaction video to Princella and some woman called I think the witch or something, or the red witch, I believe. They were basically, it was almost like being a fly in a room listening to this video. I can't even believe this video was actually in a public space, because they were just basically airing out a lot of what women do, as far as their dysfunction, and their dealings with them, because basically their gripes was because both of them are basically life coaches. That's pretty much what they are, right? So they deal with a lot of women as clients, right? And what they want the women to actually be with them for a lengthy time, right? Financially, it's lucrative for them, right? So what they find that the women are doing is, because they themselves do have a lot of understandings of what men want. They both know what men want. A lot of women know what men want, but they just don't capitulate to it for whatever reason or another. And they actually, one of the things that you don't know about, one of the things, and Princella reminds you, she is very much trained to deal with men. She doesn't want to tell you what her past is. I don't think she has, but I know what her past is, as far as basically, I strongly believe that she was basically just like the other woman that is not like the lead Miss Sanders on YouTube, Cynthia G. They both were basically pros. And they don't really want to. Cynthia G actually, I believe she actually said that she was. She said it on, I think, a video, a live stream or something. She said that years ago. A lot of people didn't catch it, but yeah, Princella, she's not. I don't think she has stated that she basically did that. But the weird thing about women is they'll say certain things, they'll give breadcrumbs. And it's like, why don't you just say the whole fucking thing? Because it's like, okay, if you work with pimps, right? If you got abused by by pimps, obviously, who gets abused by pimps? Hello, anybody home? You know, it's like, you put the breadcrumbs together, but it's like, the thing is that women know how to please men. She was, basically reformed. I believe she was in the Nation of Islam. So she knows how to please men, right? She was at one time, she said herself, a housewife, right? So the thing is that these women have understanding that a lot of women don't have, and how to get men, how to please men, right? They both know, right? Because, a lot of times it's kind of like a life cycle. When I said earlier, where it's a life cycle where men, get with these women and then they leave them and then they become alpha widows, and, they become like, they still know how to deal with men. They just basically it turns kind of sour and bitter, and then they try to avoid a lot of that reality by avoiding men. They start running away from submission, right? Because they had a failed relationship. It was very harmful and hurtful for them. So in order to avoid that, they run away from submission. They run away from their alpha, or a lot of times these women follow their alpha for the rest of their life. They follow them. It's very easy to follow them now on social media, right? So they follow them on social media, right? They check in on them from time to time. And the thing is that these women know how to please men. So they coach these women, and then they start a relationship. They find a guy, in because these women coach them on how to improve themselves, and then that in essence helps them go be attractive to the opposite sex. They get a man, and then they're kind of frustrated by that, because they wanted to have this woman as like a long-term student. And it's like, yeah, the women be like, curtains, Audi 5000, peace signs up, what I'm saying, A-town up, A-town down, like they gone, because they get, they got a relationship now. They got a dude, they getting laid, they motherfucking laying up now, they what I'm saying, got a relationship going on right now. So they ain't worried about like a lot of, one of the things I'll say a lot of times with women, they just really just need a dude. Once they start, basically kind of shacking up with a dude or laying up with a dude, they're not thinking about. That's why a lot of times women, they, they don't have good relationships with other women, because they second they get in a relationship with a man, they put all their friends aside. They put, a lot of things aside to deal with, to basically date that man, or, basically court with that man. So a lot of times that's what they were, the whole video, a lot of that was their complaints with their students, whatever, and it's like a good coach, they not worried about if your students leave the fucking class. A good coach, a good teacher, he wants their, his students to learn. If they learn, things, and then they go take off and be better people or whatever, or better basketball players, whatever. So be it. He don't need nobody to be in his class all the time. The only people that worry about that is people that are highly concerned about making a whole bunch of money. And I'm gonna be honest, like, I ain't one of those types of people. I don't even make that much money off social media, so I'm definitely not that type of individual. And whether someone needs one coaching session or another, it shouldn't matter. But obviously, you can see what people's motivations are. Definitely on social media, they're trying to make as much money as they possibly can. And yeah, whatever with that, so have you. I mean, it's a lot of harm that social media has done on people. A lot of these different movements and shit that plugged up and is based off of social media influencers that I really don't like. And I clown these people from time to time, but it is what it is. But nonetheless, like I said, domestic violence charges is one of the reasons, the biggest major reasons I did this live stream. Because when you actually deal with women because you're a simp, right? Let's go to this slide here. When you basically, one of the harmful things about being a simp is you're going to probably take these women serious. You're going to really take these women serious. And I'm going to tell you what happens when you take these women serious. Especially the women on this left here, the intolerable women, these subprime women, right? You're going to be arguing, fussing, and fighting. Unless you're just a spineless worm that you just basically get walked over, you're just basically a cuck. She just puts a collar on you. Like, let me show you this video here. Hold on, let me help you out real quick. Let me give you some visuals. Right? Let me give you some visuals here. Let me go here. Let's see here. Because you got different extreme levels of simping, right? The ultimate is basically being a woman's slave, right? Basically a woman's slave. Let's go to, let's see here. I got 37 videos on simps. Let me see here. Let's see here. Let's find this video real quick here. Hold on. Let's see here. Let's see here. All right. Let's see here. Maybe I gotta put in. Oh yeah, there we go. Here we go. Found it. Here we go. Yeah, some guys they into this. It's femdom, femdom thing, right? You gotta understand, some of these men probably came to my live stream. Some of these guys, man, they came to my live stream, they came to my channel. And you gotta understand, these men, they're like this with women. They don't want to, they don't be dominant. They're into women dominating them. They not necessarily, you know, they don't, like men as far as like that. Like they're just into women dominating them, right? That's what they're into. That's their thing. So let me see here. Let me just share my screen. Hold on. Share my entire screen. Make it easier. And you gotta understand this goes on. Hey, it goes on, right? This is what people do, right? So that's that.
Probably not.
Now, I will say this. I don't know the backstory on this, but I ain't gonna try to butter it up, but I don't know the backstory on that. He might have. I'll just give him the sake. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he lost a bet or something, or she has some leverage on him. I don't know. But the thing is this. Do you know that if you got a domestic violence charge, I got people I know that got a domestic violence charge because they were simps. They were simping. And you'd be tripped out, right? One of the tripped out things about simps. This is the tripped out thing about simping, right? This is an anomaly, right? This is crazy, right? You would think men that got a lot of women would not be simps. But a lot of men that have gotten a lot of women are simps. For whatever reason or another, a lot of men that have kind of went through a lot of women, for whatever reason or another, they have their final destination was a simp relationship. The woman that they choose to basically deal with was basically this woman here that they simped on. Maybe tolerable on the right side, but a woman that is pretty much going to put you in a situation where you're going to have a hard time. Now, his situation, the woman didn't necessarily call the police on him. It was one of his neighbors called the police on him, and then basically he went to jail for domestic violence. It's still on his record. It's put him in a situation where he basically has issues with gun rights and shit like that, because I was looking up gun rights because it was like something where I heard Trump is actually trying to or the Senate is actually trying to vote to make it a vote on should felons have a right to basically the Second Amendment, which is the right to bear arms. I saw some videos on TikTok, and then I saw some different laws, and it was like basically a lot of people don't notice if you have a domestic violence charge, it literally messes you up in different regards. It's like having it's a misdemeanor. A domestic violence charge is a misdemeanor, but it's damn near like a felony, because good luck on trying to work with children, in an environment around children. Good luck on trying to get gun rights, because they looking at it like you're a harm to women. So if you get a gun, you're going to try to harm women. They don't care. They lump everything together. So when you get a DV charge, and it's very easy to get a DV charge. I have not gotten a DV charge, but I was in jail. I remember being in jail in lockup. A lot of dudes was in there fighting a DV charge. So you got to understand, being a simp is very, very harmful to you and your future. And you got to understand, if you got kids by women like this, you're going to have to deal with them and their bullshit and their problems. And the problems is going to definitely result into, it's going to basically affect your children. Dealing with all of these, different toxic women, they're going to affect your children. So those are the major two reasons, and there's many reasons why being a simp is very, very harmful for you and your future. So just think about that before you are choosing to be a simp. Now, if you're having problems, because I've seen people coming in and out of this live stream, I probably hurt their feelings and then they left or whatever. If you have problems, and you need somebody to talk to about your simp ass ways, okay, I am available. I can help you. Okay, deal with your, problems of you being a simp in America. I can help you. Because a lot of people do have problems being a simp in America. We all know that. That is a given. If you are having problems being a simp in America, write down this link, copy this link, click this link here, and I can help you stop being a simp, being an American simp. If I was a multi-millionaire, a mega millionaire, I would start a movie. I would have a movie, and it would be called American Simp. And it would be a very good movie. It'll be a hit movie. It'll be up there with American Psycho as a top, like, all-time classic movie. That's what I would have. It would be called the American Simp. It would be a hit Netflix movie or something like that. And the thing is that I know that's a big problem in America. And a lot of men are on the other side of that, where they're suffering from being a simp. And if you are one of those sufferers, click that link so I can stop your suffering. I'm just joking, man. Literally, if everybody needs help, man. You know what I'm saying? these women are very, very, very manipulative. I'm gonna be honest with you. This society, they set this up for you to be a simp. They set this society up, so you gotta understand, if you're a simp, you're funding society. You're funding the child support systems. Look up Michigan and Ohio child support laws. Okay. If you think I'm making all of this up, look up Ohio and Michigan child support laws. Right? A lot of the governments are broke. A lot of America is broke. They need simps. The court systems need you. These lawyers, divorce lawyers, they need you to be a simp. They need your money for these simp relationships. Just think about everything. You know, the strip clubs are closing. I will say it's a good thing. The strip clubs are disease coming in, man. You know what I'm saying? Hats off to disease. They gonna start closing a lot of this shit up. They're gonna start closing a lot of bars up, a lot of nightclubs, a lot of strip clubs. Disease ain't playing. Z's ain't motherfucking playing. They gonna close a lot of they gonna close down shops. You know, one of the things I will say, I remember researching millennials, and I remember taking a deep dive. Like, this was like 2017. I was taking a deep dive in demographics, and one of the things about demographics is that I learned that a lot of the reasons why things are no longer popular or in existence is because of demographic changes. Mainly generational changes. So, for example, like, the cell phone is literally the Terminator. The cell phone took out cameras. They made cameras like, you know, the camera industry had to change itself. It had to reevaluate itself, right? It had to kind of take a different direction, right, to survive. You know, Kodak had to file bankruptcy, right? A lot of different areas are changing. You could look it up. Like, you look up the different industries that are closing or no longer in business. It's because of generational changes. So the thing is that the Z's are no longer drinking like that. They're not drinking like the Gen Xers and the millennials and, you know, the boomers, you know. So they're going to close a lot of liquor companies. Anything that is associated with liquor, you got to understand that is going to go out of business eventually. I can just say wholeheartedly that is definitely something that I see is going to come. Another thing is that a lot of bridal shops are closing because people are not getting married. You know, a lot of simps, you know, fund different things, you know, hotels and all of these things. It's like a simp economy, you know. And the thing is that the powers that be, they want you to be a simp, because if you're a simp, I'm gonna tell you, if you're a simp, you're in a state of non-competitiveness. Maximum competitiveness if you have a relationship like this, or even better, this, to be honest, you know, you have maximum competitiveness because your woman, she's an outlet, a conduit for you to be successful. If you have a good woman, if you have a bad woman, right, it's almost the opposite. Or it's like you're damn near, you know, it's like you're, you know, I remember my furnace was broken, right? It was a inducer motor that was messed up, and it was real cold. This was back in like December, around December, January. I remember that thing, man, clanking, and it was like real loud. And basically, I had to leave it running. And it was making loud noises, but it was still working. The heat was still, it was producing heat. Very dangerous situation. But I remember it was still working. And I was like, damn, this is like fucked up ass relationships. It still halfway works, right? If you're in a relationship, your toxic ass subprime woman is still sucking your dick. She's still giving you some pussy, right? She's still, somewhat functional, but it's not optimum functionality. Once I got it was a used inducer motor. I didn't have enough money to buy a brand new inducer motor. It was used. I bought it off eBay. Some chap in Tennessee, man, God bless him, man. He shipped it right away. I told him I needed it right away. It was off eBay. He shipped it right away, man. Gave him good feedback, man. He the first person I gave feedback to with with pictures. I ain't never even posted pictures on eBay as a feedback, but I did it for him because it was like, I was really happy about that situation. But the furnace started working fully functional. Well, not fully functional. There's still some other issues, but it was working as normal as it was before the inducer motor started breaking up. But I was like, you know what? This is an idea of how people function with kind of these broken halfway, in and out relationships where, they're not really, both parties are really not living their full lives or full potentials because it's too much dysfunction. When you deal with a dysfunctional woman, you're sharing in the dysfunction by being with her, right? So a lot of times men are so desperate because they balls got to empty every day and they don't know how to deal with that. Because I understand, I'm a man too. I suffer from the same dilemma. But from that being said, their caveman mind is, oh, I deal with women no matter what because balls need to be empty. I just in-house pussy, I need in-house pussy. Like, I get it. I get the mindset. Like, I get it. In-house pussy, no matter what, in-house pussy. Like, you just, that caveman mind, I get it. Right. But when you're dealing with subprime women, you got to understand this world is competitive. This society is competitive, right? So when you go here, right, just think about that, right? Caveman mindset. You're all the way. Let me take this away. This comment here. Take this away. You're all the way on the other end. Poor man, the poors, right? The people, all of the, the Richard Allnots, the Jeff Bezos, the Bill Gates, the Warren Buffetts, they all the way off the charts. It doesn't matter who woman they choose. It doesn't even fucking matter, right? Because they're so wealthy, they can, they're basically secured. The wealthier you are, the more secure you are in your, bad decisions, right? It doesn't, escape the children aspect of it, which is, my opinion, priceless. But yeah, you're in a competitive society. So you being poor, dealing with a subprime woman, and you got to understand your lifetime of being poor is almost sealed dealing with that fate because you want your balls empty and that's the best you could do. You got to understand you're in a state of non-competitiveness because of that. And that's all I have to say. Now you understand a little bit more in detail. I probably gave you a lot more understanding than anybody else, probably that you've listened to that is, on the public sphere on YouTube. Now you understand the methods of my madness. So anyway, I'm gonna, pretty much leave you, and you got some things, you got some homework to do, you got some things to do, or just continue to be a simp. I don't give a shit.
I don't know if people are aware of this, but the most important decision you will ever make in your life after choosing to believe in God is the mate you choose to spend the rest of your life with. Your mate will either inspire you to grow into your greatness or they'll confine you to complacency. They'll either be your other half or they'll make you half of yourself. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said, like, a good relationship will make you more youthful and bring out the best in you, and a bad one will age you prematurely and bring out the worst. So choose wisely.
You gotta start looking at your life. It ain't about going to church or mosque or synagogue or hanging on the corner. You got to be a lot more responsible for the life that God gave you than what you're showing right now. Or you're gonna pay a price for wasting God's life. He didn't bring you here for you to waste your life away in foolishness. All the gifts and talents that are buried within yourself that you know are there, and you won't use your gifts, use your talent, make excuses for yourself. You won't be an example for your children or for your community. You got to pay for that.